Alright. So, jumping into Ghost Recon Future Soldier, this was definitely one game throughout our entire, Ghost Recon series playthrough that I was looking forward to the most. Because it's one of the few that I actually played, and I played a lot of it when it came out. It was definitely hoping that it was as good as I remember. And I'd say, to an extent, it definitely has been. However, it is an 11, going on 12-year-old game at the time of, our playthrough and this recording. And it definitely is noticeable, kind of rough around the edges, but we'll kind of get to that. First thing I wanted to go over was, all the good stuff. Let's get that out of the way first. Gunplay and just movement, overall felt good. Nothing too indifferent compared to nowadays. I'd say, if you played the newer Ghost Recon games, Wildlands and Breakpoint, it doesn't feel too dissimilar, maybe just a little bit worse, but overall, it felt good enough. And that's what I would really say, is it's good enough. There were a few things about it that you just gotta kind of feel to experience. You're like, this isn't the best, but, it gets you through. It gets you through. I'd say, at least in terms of the gunplay aspects, oh man, I think the best thing that Ubisoft ever did, and it's been in my back of my mind forever, is just the way that they created the whole weapon building system, being able to move the little intricate kind of parts to really build your weapon and make it your own, make it adapt to whatever situation you want, is just next level, at least back then. A lot of games nowadays kind of have that, which is great. I'm glad that it's been kind of adopted in a lot of newer games, but yeah, back then, this was a whole big thing, and it's just awesome. It's so much fun to go through and just customize your weapons, really adapt it for whatever situation. Obviously, the big thing with this was the multiplayer, but that's not a thing anymore, so I guess the only real thing is if you have never played this or looking to go back to it, it's one of those aspects that offers a bit of replayability, which is, always a good thing, especially in older games. One of the main things being, of course, player agency, being able to choose whether you want to go in guns blazing or if you want to go full stealth. You can do that, and a lot of that comes from, not only the gameplay as is and the level design, but because of the way you can customize your weapons. And that made the kind of going in a lot of fun. You really they give you plenty of information at the beginning of the mission to where you can really kind of think about, how do I want to approach this? But I think those are the good things. Moving on to the bad things, fortunately, like I said, 11-year-old game, and I bring it up on just about every old game, but AI. The AI mechanics, both on the good guys and bad guys, are not great. Unfortunately, the good guys, the main thing, your teammates, the game either needed to play catch-up, which means you were waiting a minute. They wouldn't shoot or do much unless you actually told them to, or a lot of times they would just walk right in front of you. The amount of times I'd be shooting at somebody, then they walk in front, it would stop by shooting, and then I would die. It's very frustrating. Something that's, you can kind of look past, but at least nowadays, I don't think I remember it back in the day, but at least nowadays, you're kind of like, wow, I'm doing all the work. But, it's nothing too irritating. It is a slight pet peeve, but, it's not awful. I think the one big thing for me... Oh, going on to the bad guys, though, yeah. A lot of older games kind of did this, but, again, Ubisoft did this thing with this game to where, and I've had a complaint with even the past games, where it kind of starts out on an even playing field. You don't feel too powered, don't feel too underpowered, and then it ramps. You are getting hit with trucks, the enemy's a bullet sponge, and it's not very fun. And, the beginning of the game is very good, but then you start to get towards the middle section, and things start to get rough, and by the end, it feels like borderline unfair. I think the overall main thing for me was, honestly, that kind of made things unnecessarily challenging, and I feel it's just kind of lazy design. My big thing was optimization. Obviously, back then, this was a game I was playing on the Xbox 360. It was kind of expected. But playing on newer hardware, even through emulation, I've had other games that I've played run so much better, but you know, I'm playing an Xbox Series X right now, and I still had times where, you know, be walking, game would kind of pause you in place in order to load the rest of the level, or you were spent just, you know, loading otherwise. And it got very exhausting, kind of like, why are we sitting here waiting? I'm playing on newer hardware. Granted, it's an old game, but yeah, one of those things that kind of took away from the experience just a little bit. But I don't know. Overall, it's kind of a mixed bag. It's not overly awful. It's not overly good to play, but you know, I think it's still definitely worth coming back and playing. I still had a lot of fun, and I hope it's not just my nostalgia talking, but I don't know. I have a lot of fun memories with this game, but I definitely think it's still worth coming back to. Or playing for the first time if you haven't done that. Definitely recommend.